Former President Donald Trump's GOP allies in the House, including House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, have threatened to cut Department of Justice and FBI funding if law enforcement agencies target Trump in his expected indictment. According to The Hill, this idea is not favored among Senate Democrats who are afraid that it will give political fuel to Democrats. Senator Josh Hawley has called for the FBI to be reformed, saying, quote, "Maybe we need to break them up. My concern with the FBI is they don't seem very concerned about law enforcement. They seem focused on these political witch hunts."
Federal prosecutors have reportedly informed Trump that he is likely to be indicted in an investigation into classified documents. According to Just the News, the DOJ declined to delay the planned indictment of Trump to investigate allegations that a senior prosecutor working on the case attempted to influence an important witness by discussing federal judgeship with the witness's lawyer. Trump reportedly told the New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman yesterday that he has no information regarding impending federal indictments. He said it's not true and added that he hasn't done anything wrong. Haberman also wrote yesterday Trump's statements came amid a report from one of his allies that he has been told this. New York Times, CNN, WAPO, and other outlets have all reported federal officials have been building toward a likely indictment, including with witnesses in Miami, before a grand jury today. Now, former Trump White House Associate Counsel, current Vice President of Restoring Integrity and Trust in Elections, Mailman, joins us now to weigh in. Great to see you, May.
Yeah, great to see you.
So what do you think? Is it the case that prosecutors are building a case against Donald Trump for the classified documents issue? Do you think they're likely to bring an indictment?
So I guess so. I mean, there would be really no other reason why Trump's lawyers would be at DOJ. This, you know, if nothing was going to happen, why would you continue to be trying to talk to DOJ, saying that the prosecutors on the other side are sort of influencing witnesses, offering federal judgeships to lawyers on the other side? So that said, I just don't think it's advisable, really. Did Trump bring boatloads, literally truckloads of documents that he says that he declassified, but whatever, documents with classified markings to Mar-a-Lago? Sure, that's very, you know, the FBI raided, they found them, that's all true. That said, if you are prosecuting Trump and did not prosecute Hillary Clinton and are not prosecuting Joe Biden, sure, the DOJ, the government can explain away all of those differences, but that's going to fall on deaf ears. The differences are just not great enough to make this seem like anything else but political prosecution. And if this is a political prosecution, which it feels like it is, then that's some real end of republic stuff. I mean, this is something that I don't think the DOJ is going to be able to recover from. And if we have a DOJ that does not have the trust of the American people, I don't think you can overstate how damaging that would be to our republic.
Now, are you surprised that we're seeing this kind of prosecution around the documents at Mar-a-Lago, but didn't see prosecution around inciting an insurrection or claims about Dominion voting or claims about the 2020 election?
I guess I am, because it seems like the American public doesn't run around very concerned, like, wow, I really am wondering where the classified documents after the presidency go. I want to make sure that there are, you know, good, tight procedures around. It's just like, it's not something that people care about. And after the raid, it still wasn't something that people care about. The people who hated Trump still hated Trump. The people who liked Trump still liked Trump. It didn't move the needle. That said, January 6th was something that, you know, now I think people have heard so much about it, their opinions aren't changing. But at the time, it was something that a lot of Republicans were embarrassed about. It was something that you really wanted to prevent again. It seemed more important as far as protecting against in future elections. So you would have thought that there's something. However, that's probably going to come too. I mean, they're all going to come. Alvin Bragg broke the dam, and so now it's just going to be a parade of indictments until the American people, I think, just don't care anymore.
So you worked in the White House, so give me your impressions of this. I've said many times on this show that I'm frustrated with the documents discussion. It focuses on, oh, Trump kept something he should have. We know, tons of government officials have possessions of these documents, according to them, incidentally or accidentally. It seems to me it must be because there's routine classification of documents that are actually not sensitive or don't actually have national security implications, but rather it's that government bureaucrats are reflexively hiding everything in case it's important, in case it reflects badly on them. They have a knee-jerk hostility to accountability, and that's the real issue here. And as a result of that, there might be some procedural pretext for bringing a charge against Trump. He was certainly more combatant about it than other political figures. He's his own worst enemy often as we proceed through these things. But the media is totally missing the broader question of why. Why are all these documents that have nothing to do with national security? No one has shown that what Trump had was actually something that like locations of spies in other countries or something. I guess it was plans. Maybe I haven't seen them, but it was plans to attack Iran that he was against and the generals were for. I mean, that seems like the bigger bombshell than the fact that he kept them. But what is going on with the overclassification of documents?
Couple of things. One, sometimes I think things are classified in order to prevent leaks, especially in the Trump White House. Everyone would just leak everything all the time. But if you classify it, then all of a sudden it's really hard to access the document. You have to have that certain classification. You can only access it in certain rooms and certain computers. And so it was just like procedure to stop people from leaking. And then also, I guess you can prosecute people who leak classified documents, even though there's not really a difference in national security information. So that is something that I was a part of, and I did for an executive order. We had something classified that I felt was unnecessary to be classified, but we wanted to prevent leaks.
Interesting.
Then I think there's just this badge of honor thing, I guess, where people like to classify documents. They like to be part of the know. In DC, you trade on influence, right? Nobody is actually powerful. Nobody's actually that wealthy. But if you have access, if you have more information, then you are somehow more special. And I think the classification process helps people build their ego. Are there certain things that should be classified? Are there secrets that need to not get out there? Yes. Is it nice to have that prosecution power behind it to make people a little bit concerned about how they're treating these documents? Yes. But I think you're right. There's some ego, and then there's some leak control that's behind the classification system as well.
I want to turn us to some of the latest on this. So according to recent reporting from the Washington Post, DOJ prosecutors are planning to bring charges of a possible, quote, mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump used to live, at a federal court in South Florida. The reasoning for this decision is because much of the investigation surrounding Mar-a-Lago has thus far been handled by a grand jury in D.C., according to people familiar with the matter. So Republicans in Washington have reportedly previewed a defense of Donald Trump that casts potential prosecutors as being politically biased.
Here's what the former vice president had to say when asked about a potential indictment of Donald Trump at a CNN town hall this week.
This kind of action by the Department of Justice, I think, would only fuel further division in the country. And let me also say, I think it would also send a terrible message to the wider world. I hope the DOJ thinks better of it and resolves these issues without an indictment. Let me be clear that no one's above the law. I would just hope that there would be a way for them to move forward without the dramatic and drastic and divisive step of indicting a former president of the United States.
What's your reaction to what Mike Pence had to say there?
The no one is above the law talking point is one that I guess we've heard from every major media outlet. So Mike Pence is, trying to feel safe at home on CNN. I don't exactly know who he thinks is going to vote for him. It's people who like President Trump because they liked Mike Pence and they liked what went on there. But then now he's trying to say it's bad. I don't really understand his message. But that thread the needle thing, I guess, is exactly what he's trying to do here, which is saying what Trump did was bad, and yet a prosecution would also be bad. And as crazy as that sounds, it does have some basis in precedent where you do have Jim Comey saying Hillary Clinton mishandled classified information, and by the letter of the law, I do have a case here. However, if I look at the prosecutions that have been brought before, they usually involve something like willful action, where you are trying to sell information to the enemy, where there's something nefarious going on, and this just type of mishandling doesn't qualify. So I guess charitably, you could just say that Mike Pence is agreeing with the Comey standard.
Thank you so much for joining us, May. We've got more Rising right after this.
Thank you.